How's it going, guys? This is Sam with the Droning Company, and I'm here doing a review of the Cinelog20. So it's a 20-inch Cinewhoop platform.
Hey, what are you doing here? You got to get out of here. I'm doing a drone review. It's important stuff.
I'm doing a drone review here.
What's that?
This is the Cinelog20.
Well, I'm doing it on the Pavo20.
Oh.
Do you want to review these together?
I guess so. Head
All
to
right.
head.
Let's do it. All right, yeah, I'm Chris from the Droning Company. This is Sam Karp from the Droning Company, and we are here to do a dual review between the BETAFPV Pavo20 and the GEPRC Cinelog20. Now, face value, these are very similar drones.
Very similar.
2-inch, tinywhoops, cinewhoops.
Tinywhoop, Cinewhoop, kind of a combination.
It's like right on the line.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've been watching you fly yours, and it's got a very smooth flight to it.
It does.
And just watching you do yours, talk a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, so it's sub 250. Both of these are sub 250. This one, I'm not sure the exact weight, but it is just below that sub 250. So for a 2-inch, it is a little bit on the heavier side. So because of that heftiness, it kind of smooths it out, kind of counteracts it a little bit for that kind of smooth cinematic flight. Where it does fall apart a little bit is any freestyle flying you want to do with it.
Yes. Yep.
So it's a little bit sluggish because of the weight. So it's kind of a pro and a con there. Pro, you do get a little bit longer flight time with the larger batteries.
Yes. That also plays into the weight, though, too.
It does, yes.
And that's where the Pavo20 comes in. So Sam's been flying the Cinelog20 for a while. I've watched him fly it. I recently was sent the BETAFPV Pavo20 by our friends over at BETAFPV to do some reviews on. And again, very similar to the Cinelog20. I've flown that on a handful of times myself. This flies very similarly. It does have a lower weight. So with the battery, the O3 air unit, and the airframe, it weighs just under 200 grams. So this is slightly lighter than the Cinelog20. However, it's mostly because of the battery system. So we're on a 4S, we get a little more power out of the Cinelog20 batteries. We got a 3S battery here on the Pavo20.
What size battery?
Ideally between 450 and 650 milliamp hours.
Okay.
So go ahead.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Typically, I'm running just above that 650 to 850 milliamp hour.
So that's going to make a world of difference in the weight department. Like you said, yours is sub 250, but if you were running even a smaller battery on that, it might be closer to weight as, like this is.
And then the other thing is this does have a mount for a naked GoPro.
Oh, interesting.
So you could run a naked GoPro. If you were to throw it on there, I'm not sure what those weigh.
I'm not sure either.
We'll throw it up on the screen.
Up there.
But if you were to throw that on there, it would most likely bring it above that 250 gram, as well as sacrifice some flight time.
Right, so now all of a sudden you have to register your drone. You've got to make sure that it's all squared away with the FAA, even if you're just flying it for fun. So things to keep in mind. I'm excited to see how they perform side by side against each other. So we're here in Hannah Park in Lock Haven, Pennsylvania. We've got a nice little area here that we can fly in. So we're gonna do like a pseudo race. If we actually race, Sam would kill me. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna race them, but we're just gonna really feel how they handle and talk a little bit about the differences and characteristics. So let's go ahead and put them in the air.
Sounds good.
Cool. I will say, just now that we're all hooked up and everything, we're getting ready to launch. Mine's already got cool points compared to yours.
Yours does have cool points.
Because I got the LED light on it.
I'm a little jealous of the LED lights. Those are pretty rad.
You ready to launch?
Yeah.
All right, we'll stop drooling over my LED lights.
Do it.
Because my core temperature's up. Here we go, ready? 3, 2, 1. I would wreck right out of gate.
Did you?
I did, yeah.
Oh, no.
I'm gonna go set it up real quick, hold on. I think the prop wash from yours kicked mine backwards.
Oh, yeah, all right, sure.
It's your fault, it's all your fault. All right, here we go. Relaunching, here we go.
All right.
Now we are airborne.
You following me?
I'm following you.
Oh, shit, there he goes.
Oh, did I pass you?
Yeah, you did.
Dog, I didn't even see that.
I was going slow.
I will say this is a pro and a con of the Pavo20 is that it does have a lot of power behind it. Like, I can just fly on this thing. However, the con with that is you almost have to. And the reason I say that is because the camera mount on it is a little bit inconveniently placed. If you don't have this pitched to, like, I'm talking 35 degrees, that's how severe my pitch is, you're gonna be able to see the camera guard in your field of view, no matter if you're shooting in the 4:3 or the 16:9 aspect ratio, it's the exact same.
I do remember that about yours the last time I flew it, and just because you have to have such a severe camera tilt, you have to be moving pretty damn quick.
Yeah, I'm always moving at a pretty fast pace. Like right there, I overtook you, I didn't even realize it. It's just like, to get moving, that's what I have to do.
Yours definitely has a lot more zip behind it as well. Mine's
You know, the big thing, not to cut you off, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
The big thing that I really was interested to see was the, not just the motor size and how that behaved, the camera tilt, but also the propeller setup. You have the tri-blade and I have the dual blade propellers.
I think they're 4-blade actually.
Oh, yours are 4-blade?
Yeah, we'll have to confirm whenever I land.
Okay.
But, yeah, so they're 4-blade, and I know that a lot of people who fly this recommend swapping to, I think they're the Gemfan 5-blade. Or it's either 5-blade or 6-blade props that they recommend swapping to, and that is on my list to try out.
Okay.
Because I know people say it handles a little bit better that way.
Yeah, I've heard that the fan blades, and like I've had this experience with the Cinelog35, for instance. The fan blades, you typically, in my experience, I've gotten less pickup in terms of like recovering from you know, any type of a severe movement, but I get a finer level of control. That's just my experience, and I don't know if that's backwards logic or if that's right on with like typical logic, but that's just how I've always experienced it. Now, what I do want to know is I'm approaching the end of my battery, and that's one thing that I want to compare to is flight times. I'm at about 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, I'm at 3 right now.
Is also barring a crash that I had at the beginning there when we took off, as well as just sitting on. I usually get about 3 to 4 minutes of flight time before I have to bring it back. I get the low battery warning. Is that pretty much the same for you? Or?
I am at 14 volts right now.
Okay.
And I have been pushing this thing a little bit harder than I usually would fly it. And tell me if my math is bad. 4 times 3.2 is 12.8, right?
Yeah.
So I believe I usually fly this down to around 13 volts. I'm also using high voltage batteries on here.
Okay.
So they charge up a little bit higher than typical LiPo batteries.
I just went past you.
I saw you. It's hard to miss that in fluorescent blue.
No. So you use the high voltage batteries?
I use the high voltage batteries. You
Okay.
get a little bit longer flight time out of them without sacrificing additional weight.
Okay, gotcha. Like I just got the low battery warning. I'm at 10.4 volts. So that's pretty much right on with what I would expect.
Oh,
we did it!
What
we
are the
did
odds
it!
of that?
We did it! Oh no way! I can't believe we hit each other. Oh my god! All right, we're gonna put that on instant replay while we go get our drones back. What are the chances of that?
I've never had that happen before.
Enjoy the slow-mo instant replay. We'll be right back. God, I hope we didn't like bust it. I didn't bring any extra propellers.
I didn't either.
No, this could be cut short. We're gonna come up on mine first. It looks like I landed maybe right side up.
Mine's in beeper mode.
We're good.
Still looking good?
I got a chip in the prop. We can still fly it though, as long as we're not flying over the water or flying real high. Everything else about it's good. We're good.
Gonna grab mine.
How's it doing?
She's beeping.
She's beeping, which is a good sign. Any noticeable damage? Props are
Not
good?
that I can see.
Well, there's 1 point for the Cinelog20 versus the Pavo20. Not the Pavo20 failed, but
Oh no, we do have one.
where's
So
that?
right here,
Oh yeah, your frame.
the crack on there, those prop guards. So those are relatively easy to replace. At least they should be.
You hope that they are.
I'm hoping that they are. They should be.
Do you think? Are you still comfortable flying it?
Oh yeah, I'm
Okay.
not worried about that. That should be fine.
All right, let's give it another shot then. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about the damage assessment.
Yes.
Because that's a real thing that you have to deal with sometimes, not just crashing but into each other, but crashing like in the environment.
Crashing is a part of FPV.
It
It's
is.
just how it goes.
And having a drone that can take a hit is important. So let's talk about the Cinelog20 first.
Yeah, so the Cinelog20, it did suffer a little bit of damage. So on the front right prop guard, it snapped. So one of the braces for it snapped. That should be a relatively easy fix. It looks like it's just attached to the motor mounts. So I should just be able to unscrew the motor, pop that off, pop on a new one. It should be good to go. Hey, Future Sam here. I just wanted to give a quick update on the damage from the Cinelog20 crash. Like I said, it did have a small crack on the prop guard, but more importantly, the frame itself actually did get damaged. So the carbon fiber has a crack in it, and I can wiggle the whole thing. So it didn't actually affect the flying of it, but I will be replacing this top plate, and I just wanted to let you guys know that it did suffer some more damage. This top plate on GetFPV, I believe, is around $8, so it's not exactly an expensive fix. However, it is something that happened, and I wanted to let you know. All right, back to the video.
Now, the Pavo20, on the other hand, didn't fare nearly as badly in terms of overall damage. We did have a little bit of an issue with the propellers. There is one on the front right, or left, I'm sorry, front left, right here. We do have a little bit of a chip and a ding at the tip of the propeller, but I think overall these are still very flyable. I wouldn't fly this in like at a situation where I was over top of water, like there's a river just out here to our north. I would not fly it in that situation. However, we're flying in a very controlled area like the park here. I'm gonna send it all day with this. The other thing that happened was I noticed that the way that the body is mounted to the prop guards, we've got 2 screws here that have just little tiny shock dampeners underneath of them. That came loose somehow, or the shock dampeners, what happened is the shock dampeners got pushed down in and compressed, so they were balled out really fat. And that made a little bit of a wobble. In fact, I could probably go back and fix that because there's still a little bit of a wobble, but it did cause a little bit of a wobble in the body. So wouldn't have felt comfortable flying it until I got that fixed for sure. But overall, just tightening those 2 screws down and getting that fixed, and then just making sure you monitor the propellers. Pavo20 is ready to roll again.
Sweet. You know, I guess another thing to mention is that it is a very windy day today.
It is
for these
super
2-inch
windy.
Drones. Like it's a pretty windy day, and at least mine, the Cinelog20 has been handling it like a champ.
I've had no problems with the Pavo20 in terms of the wind. Now I will say if it gets any worse than this, I have flown in wind slightly worse than this with the Pavo20, and it is a little bit more volatile in that situation. But again, I've got the camera pitched so severely on this for the size and what this is meant to fly. It sort of just cuts through everything because I've always got it at an angle like this severe. So when you're flying like that fast, the wind sort of doesn't become a factor as much anymore.
What angle do you have it in comparison to?
So you see there, okay, mine is much more. So if that's what I'll be interested to see is if we have a more similar angle on your camera, like, will you have?
I think like close to like that-ish?
I'm probably at about 30 degrees.
All right, that seems about right.
Yeah, so yeah, we could probably hit that, and we'll see how it goes. I think yours is going to actually outperform mine now that you've got a more extended.
We shall see.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, I'm ready when you are. Why don't you take off first this time?
All right.
And we'll see if it's just a result of my bad piloting. That was definitely your fault last time.
Oh my God.
All right, so I'm cutting through the field right now.
Yep, I'm right behind you.
Oh, okay, you see me. That's good then. All right, I'm gonna drop down underneath these branches.
Oh no, you definitely have a lot more oomph behind you.
I definitely can feel like it's got a lot of torque behind it, or a lot of power behind it. But I'll tell you the one thing, even flying with the DJI FPV controller 2, I've got a lot of feel behind the Pavo20. Like, I don't feel like it's not responsive. Sometimes when I'm flying my Mark V, which is a great 5-inch drone for a pre-built, I feel like sometimes I'm not totally getting the responsiveness that I want out of it. And that can be problematic, especially if you're flying in like a tighter quarter. With the Pavo20 overall, barring like something coming in out of camera frame and hitting you randomly, you know, it does have pretty good responsiveness and picks up on my controls pretty quickly. And that could be a rates issue. You know, I haven't looked at my Mark V rates in a while, and I just set the rates up on this. So that could come down to that. But overall, I am really liking the Pavo20 and its handling.
I'm a little jealous of how much more giddy up you have.
Well, I've got giddy up, but I've got a real small gas tank too.
That is true.
And that can't be understated, especially when you like think about using these for professional use. Which, when you think about it, yeah, you could potentially use this for a professional project.
Oh, absolutely.
The O3 air unit on board. If you set the camera settings up right and you have good lighting conditions like we have right now, it's beautiful. You know, you can get some really great video off of the O3 air unit.
Now, I don't know about you, but I personally have used this in a professional setting. And it's not going to be anywhere near as good as a GoPro or even something like a DJI Mavic, but it is like you can get a really good image out of it. You can again, especially if the lighting conditions are ideal. You got to remember. Oh wow, we almost had another collision. Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. It's okay. Especially when you're talking about DJI camera quality. Let's face it, DJI, especially in the world of drones, has been killing it for a long time with camera quality. So when you consider that this is a smaller format camera, this is something DJI does well. I'm gonna go through the tunnel.
Ooh, there you are.
There I was. I wasn't so worried about that one. The one before, whoo, we got real close. Now, in terms of intangibles, what does the Cinelog20 bring to the table? Is there anything you like about it that you weren't expecting about it?
Honestly, I really enjoy how stable of the flight it is. Like I said, it is a little bit sluggish, but because of that sluggishness, you have less of a jittery throttle. So you can get some very, very nice, smooth cinematic movements out of it. I'd say that's the major thing. It's kind of like a weird negative, but also a positive, is that the throttle is a little bit unresponsive.
Yeah. I could see that. It gives you a little bit more forgiveness.
Yeah.
So you're not punching up real hard when you really want to have a little bit more of a gentle touch on the gas. And that's the difference. If you're watching this video, you're interested in getting into FPV drones. We've talked to friends of the channel, friends of the droning company, members of the droning company like Tim Brazel, for instance, about getting involved with FPV and the differences between flying a DJI and flying something that handles a little bit more loosely. Having that a little bit of a dead stick on your throttle is kind of good for people that are just getting started out, because it's the difference between driving like a Honda Civic and a Ferrari. A Honda Civic's not going to get away from you. A Ferrari might, and that's sort of the upside to having a dead stick.
So I am fighting the wind a tiny bit.
Yeah, I just started fighting myself, and I'm actually low on battery, so I'm going to bring it back.
See, I still probably I'm at 13.8 volts right now.
The recording on my goggles says I'm at 4 minutes, 4 seconds. I'm getting the land now. I'm at 10 volts, and I'm slowly losing power. And I had a hard landing, but that's okay.
We'll see. I am curious, what voltage did you land at?
I landed at 10 even.
I'm at 13.6 volts at 4 minutes, 40 seconds.
So you've got superior flight time,
Yes.
25% more at least.
Yeah.
And you probably have, another minute and a half left?
I'm going to say 30 seconds, probably.
Okay, 30
Towards
seconds.
the bottom of this battery, it tends to start to sag pretty bad.
That's the truth with mine too, and that's what happened. I got to 10.7, and typically when I get to 10.7 volts, I know it's time to bring it back.
Yeah.
If I let it sit on 10.7 for too long, it goes from 10.7 to 10 very quickly.
Yep, here we go. I'm at 13.2. It's starting to drop pretty bad, so we'll...
A much more graceful landing. I will say also, and this is more of a setup thing, you might see me rubbing my nose. It's because of the goggles too. We talked about the goggles 3 when we were in San Diego. We talked about the original goggles V2. I'm not a huge fan of the goggles 2 in terms of the comfortability on your face. It's not real comfortable.
I am trying to hang on to my goggles V2 for as long as possible because I love these things.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if it's just me, but with the foam, the extra cushion foam padding, it just really fits my face really nicely.
Yeah, and you have a big face.
Yes, I do. I just like these goggles.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, final thoughts. We talk about the different categories we compared these in terms of flight power, distribution to the drone. I'd say the Pavo20 does have an edge on the Cinelog20.
Yeah, I would agree.
This has a little bit more giddy up, but that also has to do with the orientation of the camera. So there's a pro and a con with the Pavo20 that way. With the Cinelog20, that setup, you can set the angle to whatever you want, and you don't have any issues in terms of getting in the frame.
The way that it is just on the front, I can have it completely flat, tilted all the way up, and I've never gotten any prop guards in the frame. So yeah, it's never been an issue with this one.
That's something to consider too, because if you have a situation where you need to fly a little bit more slowly, cinematically, you don't really have the luxury of doing that with this drone. And this doesn't have quite the oomph to be able to carry like a naked GoPro. It doesn't even have a mount for it. So you're stuck with the onboard camera system you've got.
With a GoPro on here, I've never tried it, but I would imagine you're going to lose a minute to 2 minutes of flight time on this.
Easily.
So you're probably going to be just at around 2 minutes of flight time putting a naked GoPro on here. Plus, it's pushing you past that 250 gram. So I don't know if it's necessarily worth it, but it does give you the option, which is nice.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of flight time, though, you got to address the elephant in the room. Significantly more flight time. You could have pushed that a little further, probably.
Yeah, just a little bit. I landed at around 5 minutes, so I probably could have gone 5:30.
Yeah, so you were pushing 5 minutes. I wrapped my flight up. These darn Central Pennsylvania allergies. I could have wrapped my flight up. I wrapped my flight up, rather, right as the battery was dead. Like, that battery had nothing left in it when I landed it, and I was at about 4 minutes and 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So significantly more battery life. When you look at it from a percentage standpoint, you get 25% more flight time than I do, which is fantastic.
It is. I will say it's trying to do any acro moves with this. wouldn't recommend it. It gets caught up in its own prop wash a lot.
Yeah.
So how does it perform the Pavo20?
That's a great question. You know, that's something that I've done just occasionally, done some power loops. It's also not built for that.
Yeah.
I have a lot of the same issues, despite the fact it seems like I'm getting more of a power output because I'm faster. Really, when it comes to actually putting the drone up in the air and doing like a power loop or doing a barrel roll or something like that, it doesn't do well. It just doesn't. Can it do it? Absolutely. If you make it do it, it'll do it, and if you time it out right, it will do it just fine. But if you're trying
It's not built for it.
It's not built for it. At the end of the day, it's really not built for it. So, what's our final thoughts?
Final thoughts, cinematic purposes, Cinelog20.
Absolutely.
Trying to get some speed, have some more fun, I'd say the Pavo20.
Yeah, I would say I agree for the most part with that. I'd say if you really want something that's versatile, you can be used for a variety of different things, Cinelog20 is the way to go from GEPRC. Definitely has, in terms of the camera positioning, in terms of the flight time, you want more options that way, that's the way to go.
Yeah.
100%. If you're looking for maybe a different type of shot, you could still use the Pavo20 professionally. I've done it before myself. If you want a different type of shot, moving a little bit faster, a little bit more agile, or you're just looking to have a lot of fun, Pavo20 is the way to go with that, for sure.
And I think another thing just to consider about this platform, the size of Whoop, is this has quickly become one of my favorite drones to fly.
Yes.
Just, it's so much easier to go out and fly this than it is to fly something like a full-sized 5-inch.
Absolutely.
There is a lot less places that you can fly a 5-inch. You have to be a little bit more careful with it.
Yeah.
With this, obviously you still want to be careful, but you can fly a little bit, you can fly in more places.
I would agree with that. Like we're in, usually this park is pretty busy. I'm surprised to see it so empty, but we're in a park that is usually got quite a few people in it. I would feel fine if there were a ton of people here still flying these.
Oh, absolutely.
Flying the 5-inches like we were doing a little bit earlier just to warm up, I would never do that if there were a ton of people.
It would be a little bit sketchy.
Yeah.
Like you saw, stuff happens. You end up crashing. Well, you end up crashing into each other. You end up crashing into a tree. So with this, I would definitely feel a lot more safe than flying something like a 5-inch.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. In terms of if you want to buy one of these drones, we do have links down below in the description. So make sure you check out the links down there. You can take a look at these drones, really any drone from GEPRC or BETAFPV, you'll have access to on those links. So make sure you check out those links down below. Honest assessment, if I had to give this a score out of 10, which I don't really do anymore, but just for the sake of transparency, so you know I'm not just trying to sell you something, I'd give the Pavo20 a 7.3.
I'd say that's fair.
That's a pretty fair score.
I was gonna go around the 7.5 for the Cinelog20. Honestly, I love this little quad.
It's a
so
lot
much
of fun. It is a lot of fun. Is it meant for everything? No, absolutely not. There's going to be different quads for different things. And could you build something that's better than this? 100%.
Oh, definitely.
I feel like there's definitely room to build something yourself, or there might be other drones out there that are pre-built that would be better. But in terms of something that's budgetary friendly, something that is easy to fly right out of the box, you can't go wrong.
You
really
cannot.
can't. So until next time, this is Sam Karp, FPV expert for the Droning Company. I'm Chris, the Drone Geek. We're out of here. See you next time.